So, someone alerted me to the existence of this channel, Odin's Men. I won't ruin it for you, but go and have a look at some of their videos. This is one of their videos that I'm going to watch here. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Trans experience epiphany, right?
Chase, would you rather the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest woman in the world?
The question was, would you rather smash the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest? Well, I'll answer last.
I think you all know the answer to this question, the trans woman. I mean, this guy's going to run into a buzzsaw here. This is good.
What he means there is the conversation. That's what he needs to say in order to not get cancelled. He's not saying that's what you should say, or that's what he says. He's saying the answer these ladies are looking for is that yes, he would rather sleep with a hot trans woman rather than some old nobody real woman. I mean, who the hell would want to sleep with a real woman? That's their point.
Honestly, bro,
So you're oldest.
the oldest woman in the world, because then I wouldn't be gay.
What?
You cannot say that, bro. This is a podcast. I'll try to find the link in YouTube, the whatever.com podcast. You got a bunch of hipsters, and this guy lost his bearing. Redirect, son.
You really just want me to just rip you a female one.
Oh, that's interesting. Straight away she goes to violence. So maybe she's just a feminist. She just doesn't like men, and well, anyway, let's continue.
I swear to
Are
God.
you like...
Chase, how dare you be transphobic?
Yes, actually. What the do you mean? Yes, that was
Because
so
if I had
necessary.
sex with a trans woman, I'd be having sex with a biological man.
100% fact. So he probably could have gone about this in a different way, considering the context of this conversation. If I was him, I would be making the same point, but I wouldn't have said it in that way. The way that he said that is like, how do I explain it? It's a challenging, it's almost like he's folded his arms, said something smug and gone, and he's like grinning over the top of it, you know? So it's passive aggressive, so that's what she's responding to. I'm not sure she's presented herself in a good way. Maybe she's not always like this. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But what we have here is an argument of ideology. This guy on the left, Chase, presumably he's a Christian, he's saying that the question's invalid. That's what he should have said. The question is invalid because would you shag the hottest trans woman on earth? Straight away, there is no such thing as that if you're him. You can't be hot and a trans woman. You can be a hot woman or you can be a trans woman, but you can't multitude the both and say you're a hot trans woman. There's no such thing as hot trans. Trans is a thing we know, hot's a thing we know, hot trans is not a thing we know. So anyway, let's carry on.
And I don't...
The host is like, oh, no, don't do it. I'm going to get demonetized on YouTube. And the only reason I'm still here is to get you guys to come watch my adult videos, not allowed by the TOS on YouTube, on Rumble. Go to the description immediately and open a new tab and go there now.
When he says adult videos, I don't think he's talking about pornographic. They're not actual adult videos. He's just talking about like adult themes in the conversation. I'd have to have a look though. I've not looked yet.
I do that.
The question is,
That's not what you said, though. That's fine.
Because I'd be gay if I had sex
That's
with a
not
biological
gay.
man.
That's not gay.
That's
And I don't
gay.
even care if you're doing this for, like, whatever, but, like, shut the fuck up, actually.
It's interesting how she says that's not gay. So, what is gay then? Because I thought that's actually what gay was. Gay for me is when you want to have sex with someone who is a man and you're a man. And what makes someone a man is whether they were born a man or not. So obviously, if you're a trans man and you were born a woman, you had to transition away from something. So even the word trans man is not a man, because otherwise you'd just say man. You wouldn't say trans man. And if you want to hide the fact that it's a trans, you're going to have to do more work surgically. Just being completely upfront and honest. It's really obvious most of the time. Doesn't matter how much you spend. I mean, look at Bruce Jenner. I can't remember. Caitlyn. Anyway.
I'm doing it for...
Wait a second. So the man here on the screen, Chase, the announcer, look at the left. He's like, oh, God, no, break, cut. So the man, Chase, is like, well, you know, I like women, biological DNA women. I don't want a trans woman. That's what I heard there. And his take is, if I was with a trans woman, that would make me feel like I'm not a straight guy. That's what I just heard.
And that would be right. I think I've identified the problem here, not just in this conversation with these people here in the video, But the problem in general, it's labeling. Everyone is reduced to labels. I'm not sure how we got to this stage, because when I was growing up, we were trying to get away from labels and be unique, be, individuals, good-natured individuals. Now the individual doesn't matter. It's almost like sly communism is trying to insert itself through the social structure rather than the political structure, isn't it? It's socialized people. You're not allowed to have your own identity, but if you have a group identity, you can fight tooth and nail for that group, and then pretty much anything goes. It's okay as long as you do it for the group and not yourself. It's fine. So that's the ideological war between the young and the old. The young people seem to think you can just fight for any group as long as it's got a few people in it. It's like mob justice. Whereas the traditionalists, such as this chap here and myself, we don't think that. We think that there's absolutes. There's dark, there's light, there's grey, but they are what they are. You can't say light is sometimes dark, because it isn't. It's like you can't say, oh, a flame can decide it's going to become a shadow. It's like, no, they're two different things. When you blow out the flame, shadow is there, and when you light a candle, the flame is there again. They're not the same thing. They can't ever be each other. Do you know? So that's the problem here. The labeling. I think it might be a Gen Z thing. Gen Z was the first generation I noticed that were completely absorbed in relabeling everything, to confuse the hell out of guys like me, because it's more difficult to argue with someone when they're using all these quangos and acronyms and stuff that you don't know. So they can just invent their own language and then by nature of that win whatever argument.
I'm just keeping you up to speed here.
You need to respect his
why don't-
street identity.
Why don't you make me
That's
shut
too
the
far.
up? Because I have an opinion that differs from yours.
Be a part.
That's the question. Can you have an opinion that differs? Are you?
I think you can have an opinion that differs, but if straight away you're primed to go for violence, like they've both done it now. He had the crap-eating grin to start with and the folded arms, so he basically challenged her under the table. She, over the table, returned that challenge, and it's just degraded from there. But I think what she's saying is not what she's saying. What she means is not what she's actually worded. What she's probably defending is what I think is, she thinks if someone is a trans person who's not a rapist or hasn't had any criminal things against them, or if they're a victim of something and that's the reason they've gone trans, then they should be allowed to not be called a man. And he's saying, no, we should point and laugh and call them men. So I don't think there's a huge argument to be had here. It's just she's misrepresented what she's saying, and she's doing it in reaction to his crap-eating grin. So they're both as bad as each other, even though I would more likely agree with the guy on the left. But this has to stop. We have to develop a better way to argue with silly children. That's what he's doing. He's arguing with a silly child, but she's going to grow up at some stage. This is her growing up now. So giving her the crap-eating grin, it's not going to do the right thing. It's not going to get you the result.
Allowed to do that? I think the answer is no. I mean, the woman's pretty upset. I don't know if that's a trans woman. I guess it could be. Let's just say the trans woman, let's say it is, and they said, I want to date another trans woman. That's what I want. I'm a lesbian. That would be okay, right? Or if it was a trans woman that says, I'm dating.
We're back to the terms, though. You can't date a trans woman if you're a lesbian, because a lesbian only likes women. So if you're a trans woman, that suggests that you've transitioned away from your biological maleness, which you were born into. So someone who ends up with you is not going to be a lesbian, because you're a man. They'll be gay or they'll be straight. But you can't say that to the woman on the right. She's already, now she's primed for violence. She's definitely not going to be reasonable. But there was probably a time earlier in the conversation where you could have said that to her and got her to agree to it.
A trans man, that would be okay. I don't want to be a straight man, but it doesn't work the other way. I'm trying to figure this out. Woo.
She's right. I mean, that's really hateful.
She's not. It would technically be homosexual.
Wow.
A trans woman is a biological man. Sue me. It's true.
Dude, that's mean.
I don't think you can really say that anymore. I do not stand with this person's statements. I vehemently deny it. I disavow it. Is that what I think I'm supposed to say? Wow. This is a lit podcast. I think Tim Pool said this is lit. It is lit.
Yeah, I don't think we need to watch the rest of this. It's just sensationalizing something which is effectively meaningless. If you gave the transcript of this conversation to a non-biased AI and you said summarize this into bullet points, one versus the other, so they each have a turn and a sentence each, it's 2 sentences. It's basically men are men from the guy on the left, and then the woman on the right says rah. No, she doesn't even say no. She just says, I'll fight you and you're wrong and fuck off and all the rest of it. Like, I don't usually swear in my podcast, but I'm just repeating what she has said. So yeah, that's the end of this one. But the point here is, in future, I think we all need to be very careful about labelling people, and we all need to be very careful which things we respond to, because if someone were to mislabel me in a question and I respond to it, I've kind of said I've agreed with that label. So the worst thing to, in fact, that's the thing to take from this conversation. The tactic to use when someone faces you in a discussion, it becomes an argument, and they want to use terms and labels that you don't agree with because you know the traditional terms and you're sticking with those. Say nothing. Back away from the conversation and say, I think we need to lay some groundwork first. And that means we need to figure out which neutral terms that we can use, which aren't your terms and aren't my traditional terms. We need to make a new one, which boundaries off the parts we both agree with, and we'll talk about that. So that's the thing to do. So yeah, look out for, I'll be watching this guy and others like it. So thanks to, I can't remember the name of the person who's led me here, but thanks to them, I'll be looking out for more and making more videos of these. So yeah, look out for me in the next one, and I'll see you then. Bye.